people. It's Friday, May 6th, 2016. We're here to do our weekly STEM. And what's up, Chris?
Not much, man. Welcome to Seis de Mayo. Did you recover from Cinco de Mayo?
Oh, I didn't. I worked, so I guess I recovered. Yeah, today is Revenge of the 6th, right?
Yes, Revenge of the 6th, or I saw some other holidays somewhere. It was National Tuba Day. So if you're a tuba player, thumbs up to you. Yeah, I'm not a tuba player. So.
So what's going on? Anything going on this week, or?
Not much. Actually, been doing a lot of coding this week. Been working on a lot of websites for clients and friends who actually ended up building an app this week for an IoT company or a nuclear engineering company that wanted to create an application that they can then control some of their diagnostic equipment and control valves. So I ended up building an application this week for them to at least pull the information from their servers and run diagnostic testing on it. So that was kind of fun. Yeah, use the online builder and the APIs to call to the local network for that the thing's connected to, and it's like, wow, I could actually do this stuff. Thank you for people who built out-of-the-box kits.
Yeah.
How about yourself? You still been working on the apps challenge?
No, that's done. We're just waiting to hear results now. Haven't done much this week. I traveled for work. Went up to Maryland for a couple days.
Back to our old stomping grounds.
Yeah, I drove past 270 on 495, and I was like, "Oh, Rockville." But
no,
there's actually some shootings there today at Montgomery Mall. So,
okay.
Glad I wasn't there. But yeah, not sure. Don't really have much coming up this weekend. I might be helping Joe at Robo Dojo. He's moving his robotics club to another office, so I might help him move some stuff and paint. But pretty much getting ready for next week when we head out to Phoenix for the Intel Science and Engineering Fest. So trying to work out all the logistics and trying to plan for that.
Yeah, and try not to be too distracted before we fly out on Wednesday. So I'm kind of in the same boat, sitting there and just like, what do I really want to do for this week?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's about it.
Okay, well, cool. Yeah, there's been a lot of fun stuff that happened this weekend or this past week. A lot of fun announcements and tech developments. I think we should probably just jump into our topics of the week. And I think the first one is actually, that one's on me. For our science story, so a lot of people have been looking at reality television as a source of inspiration for a number of things. Anything from getting a dream job in The Apprentice to, losing weight with The Biggest Loser. And one of the things that came out this week in the New York Times was a study that was done from the season 8 competitors, many of which who lost over 200 pounds. And almost all of them had regained all, if not gained weight from when they'd been on the show. And it was a study that was done in cooperation with the National Institutes of Health, where they actually looked at the month by month and then annual results of what was going on with the individuals. And they found that at the end, or at least recently, when they had put all the weight back on, many of the individuals had gained weight because their metabolisms had effectively slowed. When they were on the ranch, they're in going through The Biggest Loser and losing all that weight, their bodies had been used to burning a certain number of calories a day. They had very specific dietary regimens. And when their metabolism actually slowed, a 400-pound person who loses 100 pounds, theoretically doesn't necessarily need the same amount of food to carry them from point A to point B, and their bodies will thus slow down their how much they're burning, which means that when they go home and they have a cheat day, or they have, they continue their workout regimen, but over time their bodies are still slowed and still have never recovered to having that high metabolism that they once had. So even though they may be eating lower calories, their body is still not able to break down all the calories that they had beforehand. Thus, meaning you're putting on, a pound or two or 50, or in their cases, over the course of these several years, putting on the 200 pounds that they may have lost, or 100 pounds, depending on how much they lost to begin with. There was only one person in the entire study that was of a lower weight than when they left the show. And even that was just a couple of pounds weight loss. But that person even said, there is no cheating involved anymore with weight loss. Andrew, I know, getting in shape is something that has been on. You and I have talked about it for both of us. But having gone to the military and the regimens of the PT and everything that happens there, have you found any changes in what you eat and decisions that you make, and how it impacts either weight gain, weight loss, or anything in your life?
First of all, I just want to say that I'm in shape, just not the right shape.
Yeah. You have a six-pack. It's just on ice.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, you have to consistently work out if you have a slow metabolism, or, have problems with weight gain. I haven't worked out much since I got out of the Army, and that was 2 years ago. And I gotta, like you said, I got the six-pack on ice, so
you can fit into the uniform. You just can't button it. Yeah.
Yeah, the arms can still get through.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I always tell myself one day I'm gonna start working out again, but hasn't happened yet. But yeah, so yeah, I don't think there's any magic to weight loss other than being motivated and sticking to it. So
yeah, and I've seen a lot of people who've either gone through weight loss programs where they've cut all the sugar out of their diet, or gone on the DASH diet, or people who've had gastric bypass surgery. And many of these individuals who, once they make that lifestyle change, their body's chemistry and I guess metabolism, the glands that produce the hormones and everything that tell your body to burn more calories, all that changes. And many of them, gain a lot of the weight back, some of it. There have been comments recently so far as who's the gentleman from the Today Show, the weather guy that had gastric bypass surgery?
Al Roker.
Al Roker, who, even though he lost a tremendous amount of weight, has put some of it back on. And he's even talked publicly about, his doctors saying, your metabolism changed because your body shape changed, which means even further reductions for a day-to-day, maintenance than what you would have done beforehand. So it's interesting that I see this as something. My dad for years has gone on diets and then rubber banded back. I know I've when I was in college, I was playing volleyball all the time and had gained 20 pounds of muscle. And that 20 pounds of muscle, disappeared when I wasn't playing as much, as fast, but the weight didn't. And it's easy for that to happen. I can see that being very easy for somebody who's gone through a dramatic gain or loss to have a long-term impact to your body's chemistry.
Right. Yeah. Diet and exercise. That's you have to do both if you want to lose weight, and you have to keep doing both if you want to keep eating the good stuff. So.
Yeah. But even if you do both, you may still come across some natural challenges that your body, if you've lost a lot of weight, if you've lost 50 pounds and you're looking to keep that off, well, your body may actually fight you. Just because now your metabolism's changed. So it's an interesting finding. I'm curious to see what comes out of it from the NIH guidelines in terms of diets or other organizations. I know the National Heart Association and their DASH diet and other groups have recommended diets. But if they're seeing, actual body chemistry is changing, does that change how we make dietary recommendations?
Right. Keep talking for a minute. I want to find something.
Oh, keep talking, keep talking.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I will say the one thing that struck me the most in each one of these cases of the people who lost weight or put the weight back on, the struggles that each one of these contestants went through while losing the weight. A lot of it also had to deal with a mindset. Mindset that your body is telling you need to eat, or your body's telling you that you are having a dip in your glucose. And there's actually a company that I spoke to earlier on Monday that they're looking at creating a glucose monitor, not for diabetes, not to fight lack of insulin or hypoglycemic, but actually to help train athletes and people who are looking to lose weight to see when their body is dipping, so that they can either carbo load for a big tournament or maintain a specific level of physical fitness during activity, but they can actually monitor what their blood glucose is doing in helping with the oxygenation process in the body. So, what your body's telling you, it might say that you need to eat, but it might be fooling you as well, because it's just really about your chemical levels.
Right. Okay. Let's see if I can pull this up. I'm gonna try and do this on our. That's after we get off the video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So let's see if this will work. Stand by, people trying to use this YouTube app. See if this works.
This is our first time trying to pull up a video using Google Hangouts.
Yeah, let me know if this shows up on yours too. So. All right, were you able to see that or whatever?
If I clicked on the video, or at least the YouTube app here, I don't know if it showed up on screen. So if it showed up on screen for you all,
yeah, I think that people might have heard that. But if you didn't see it, it was an Army drill sergeant yelling at one of the trainees in basic training. And I just wanted to say that I don't know if there's a better motivator than having a drill sergeant yell at you when you're doing like push-ups or whatever. So. Yeah, that's all.
I like it. I love it. Please give me more.
Yeah. All right. So our next topic is going to be engineering, and what we have on the agenda for that is there's been an announcement this week, sort of a reminder actually, that the Windows 10, the free version of Windows 10, is going to be going away in July, which is still a couple months away, but it's there. So we're going to be talking about Windows 10. Like I know Chris has upgraded at least one computer, and
or 6.
6.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're just going to be talking about Windows 10 for. All right. So here's a little clip. Hopefully it shows up on everybody's thing. So. All right. So if hopefully everyone was able to see that, but if you weren't, there was a weather meteorologist. That's what they're called. Doing the weather on the news, and the little like upgrade to Windows 10 menu came up on their green screen or whatever. So that's pretty funny. I was up there for like 30 seconds before they were able to get rid of it. But yeah, so when Windows 10 first started coming out, and it was a free upgrade, it still is for a couple more months. People were hesitant to upgrade because of the whole like Windows 8 thing. Windows 8 wasn't very a good hit because, you know, of all the tablet features that it had for your desktop computer. That like, why would you have tablet features for a desktop? Who knows? Um, but yeah, so Windows 10 rolled out in July 2015, and the free upgrade is for Windows 7 and Windows 8 users, and is going to be expiring in July. So afterwards, it's going to be $120 to upgrade, and they'll be getting rid of that little menu pop-up. So if you're planning on upgrading or still holding out or whatever, just make sure you do it before the end of July. Otherwise, it won't be free anymore. And there's probably some tricks you could try and do if you are a little bit computer savvy. You could always back up your whole system and then upgrade to Windows 10. And if you don't like it a little bit, you could always revert back to your old backup of Windows 7 or 8, whatever you're using. But you have to be a little bit computer savvy to do that. So it's not like just backing up your files. You have to back up your whole hard drive. But yeah, so Windows 10, right now they're saying that they have 300 million users. And they said they want 1.2 billion users on Windows 10 within the next couple of years. So, I mean, that's 4 times as much. It's already been out a year. Who knows if everyone's going to upgrade. I think maybe I don't know if the expiration date is going to have a bunch of people upgrade like right beforehand, or if you haven't upgraded in the last year, like why would you upgrade the next couple months? So I could see sort of a group of people being like, oh, I don't want to pay $120, like let me just upgrade, and then I can see those like Windows 7 users who are just like, I don't want that Windows 10 at all, so I'm just not going to upgrade anyway.
Or you get the Mac users that say, I'm tired of using Mac and I want to upgrade to Windows.
Yeah.
Andrew.
So for those who haven't like heard like almost in every video, I use a MacBook Pro, but I use Windows 10 on it because I don't like the Mac operating system for many different reasons. But yeah, so I had originally installed, which is interesting. I had originally installed Windows 7 on my Mac, but there were some features that weren't working just because of the hardware versus software thing. Like, that's another thing. If you're upgrading or want to upgrade to Windows 10, make sure your computer is ready for Windows 10, because if you don't have like certain amount of RAM, certain amount of storage, certain processor, that sort of deal, then you can't install it. Or if you do install it, then like maybe you might be messing some stuff up because your computer can't handle it. But yeah, when I installed Windows 7 on my Mac, there were a lot of things that didn't work. One was multiple displays. So my MacBook can, as a Mac, it can use up to 7 monitors because it has some awesome hardware. But with Windows 7, it would only do 1 external monitor. And I wanted more than that. I have more monitors that I like to use. So that wasn't working. I think my SD card port wasn't working. There's a few other things, but the multiple monitor was like the number one sort of thing that was not making me happy with Windows 7 on my Mac. And so I was like, researching and stuff, and they were like, oh, if you go to Windows 10, like Windows 10, like we'll be okay with it and everything. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll try Windows 10 on my Mac. I still got Windows 7 on a couple of my computers, so I could always use those more if Windows 10 just didn't work too well. So, but Windows 10 actually is not too bad. I tried it out in the sort of beta testing right around the same time Chris was. He started it, I think a week before I did. I saw him upgrade. I was like, well, I'll try the beta, and I didn't like the beta at all. I don't know about you, Chris, but it was Windows 8 for me, even back.
So when I originally upgraded to the beta, I had been running 7 on my Ultrabook. I had 7 Professional and upgraded to 10 Beta, and immediately enjoyed it. The one thing I didn't like is that when you upgrade from version to version, it would take 2 openings of a program for it to actually launch and understand kind of the boot path for it. Because what it would do is load everything in, and then it would stall before you'd actually get a usable screen to actually use the program. And that even happened with internal applications for Windows, like using the Paint feature, using the calculator. Like, it would load up, but then you'd have to close it because it wouldn't launch, and then you'd actually start it again, and it would finally come up.
That was during the beta stuff?
That was during the beta stuff. So it's like it wouldn't complete the loaders. Now everything is very, very stable. It runs very smooth. I found that a lot of the applications ran a lot faster. My boot up times were faster. It ended up being a great improvement from version to version, at least from 7 to 10. And then later I had an 8.1 machine for work that I upgraded to 10. Don't tell my IT director. That I upgraded. And he, I actually ended up being the internal advocate for the company to say, hey, this is working a lot better than 8.1 was, especially for networking, because we were having problems with our VPN. And it was a versioning issue with our VPN software as well as running on 8.1, but it had stabilized itself and running on 10. So that was something that we everybody upgraded to 10 corporately because of the VPN software we were using with LogMeIn.
I'm surprised you guys weren't using Windows 7.
Some of the machines were internally. Some of them were on. So I know my old desktop that I had down in LA was running 7 when I left Los Angeles, and then
not Louisiana.
No, not Louisiana. But hello to all of my friends down there in Lake Charles. But when I received this machine that I'm looking at right now, this one was sent to me with 8.1. So it was a fresh installation, brand new device that was purchased.
Yeah, I haven't seen too many businesses on Windows 8 or 10 yet. Windows 7 is very heavily supported, by all like the IT departments, but
yeah, well, Windows 7 Professional was actually probably a very, very stable, one of the more stable beyond XP Pro releases they had. XP Pro still had a lot of bugs in it. I'm still amazed that places like Charles de Gaulle Airport still run Windows 93, 96. Like there was a report of outages that were because the air traffic control systems were still using like an early version of Windows 90 something.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was pretty pathetic.
Yeah, so the beta test, I didn't like that, and I pretty much stopped using that right away. Like I said, I took a backup of my computer before I installed it, and after using it for a couple weeks, I was like, screw this, and I reverted back. But since the beta test and when I installed it on my Mac last year, I think it's improved a lot. There's still some things I don't like. I don't like the tile stuff whatsoever. The start button has a little bit of tiles now, but it's not as crazy as Windows 8 was. And there's some of the double sort of steps you got to go through. If like you're a Windows sort of like, I wouldn't call myself a guru, but if you use Windows to change like settings a lot, if you don't know like maybe like the direct path where you could just type it in like the run command, then it takes you like a couple steps to get to like your Wi-Fi settings or stuff like that.
Well, the one thing that I do like is they've built in their search capabilities, search engine, onto 10 so that you can actually search all the way across your device. So if there was a specific setting that you wanted, for example, screen resolution, you could put it in the search bar and it'll actually pull up results. Maybe you've got 2 or 3 files that say screen resolution, and then it'll actually have a settings result if you want to change your screen resolution. So they made it more intuitive if you need to search for something. If you don't know the direct path to find it, they do have the search built in there.
It's for dumb people. Just kidding, but kind of. Yeah, and actually, one of the big complaints about Windows 10 is the whole security sort of. Windows 10, I think, is better at security than Windows 7, but in terms of your privacy, that's what I was trying to get to. Privacy is much worse in Windows 10. By default, they have all of these settings on, and you're basically like all the data that you do online or even on your computer gets sent to Microsoft by default on Windows 10. And you have to like turn all these things off. If you want to get rid of it, you basically have to turn off Cortana, which is, Microsoft's, sort of like AI thing or whatever. You have to turn on. You basically can't use Cortana if you value your privacy, because she reports everything to Microsoft, and then Cortana is like in lockdown mode. Like I think I read like you can't. It used to be where you could use her maybe like to interface with Google Chrome and the Opera browsers, but now it's only the Microsoft Edge browser, and you can only search Bing with Cortana. You can't search Google, and it's just like, you know what? Like, come on, man. Like, nobody.
Either give me the functionality or take it away. Like, don't sit there and say I'm going to be limited to using your stuff and your stuff only.
Yeah. And sort of interestingly, another thing that's there's been a few features of Windows 7 and 8 that have gone away in Windows 10. One of them is a lot of parental controls. I was surprised to read that a lot of parental controls have been sort of pushed off in Windows 10. So maybe they want more kids to get on the computers to see more ads. I don't know really the reasoning behind getting rid of that sort of stuff, but interesting nonetheless. Yeah.
Yeah, I just searched for parental controls and it says looking for results. So
yeah, hasn't found crap yet. So
hasn't found anything. And if I click on settings with parental controls, it 0 results.
Yeah. So there you go, parents. If you want to lock down your kid's computer or your computer that your kids use, Windows 7 or maybe Windows 8, but I don't like Windows 8 either. Never used it. So Windows 7.
Yep.
All right. So next we're going to move on to our engineering story. So our engineering topic for this week is inspired by Captain America: Civil War. So Civil War just came out officially today. Chris, did you see it yet?
I haven't seen it yet. I'm debating whether to go see a showing this evening.
Loser.
Yeah, I know.
Loser. I saw it last night. You should definitely go see it this evening. So like I'm wearing my Comic-Con shirt and all that. I'm not a huge comic book nerd. I would say I'm not a comic book nerd at all. So the comic book movies for me are more of an entertainment sort of thing, and like I don't read the comics, so I'm not really one to compare the comic and the movie, and I don't really know any of the stories other than what the movies tell me. But Civil War was awesome. I saw it in IMAX last night, non 3D, so my eyes weren't being strained for a couple hours, but it was a great movie. I thought the storyline was pretty good. But while I was watching it, I was like, oh man, like I know what to do for our engineering topic. So basically it's, can we ever build an Iron Man suit? So we know Tony Stark is a billionaire and he could afford, all these sort of technologies that you see in the movie, but could an Iron Man suit actually be produced and built and that sort of thing? Well, I think the short answer is not today. So technology doesn't really exist today where we could go build one, or otherwise they would already exist. But can it be built in the future? I think so. I think maybe some of the technology might look different than what it looks like on Iron Man's suit, but I think some of the stuff that is on his suit could definitely be implemented. One of them being sort of the exoskeleton of the suits. So a lot of companies are building and producing, and the military is researching what they call exoskeleton type suits. Some of them have a few different applications. So one is for the military. So like service members can like lift tons of weight and carry people long distances, or have like a lot of armor that's really heavy that wouldn't really be heavy on you. One of the things I saw was like, so military helmets, like combat helmets, tend to weigh not a lot, but enough where it's annoying to wear. So this thing had like a little like, it almost looked like one of those like banana holders where like you like hold the thing of bananas, but this it was
it sits on your back and holds the helmet in place for you, like the VR goggles in the movie Deja Vu, where you just kind of like got it sitting over the top.
Yeah, it was pretty low profile, so I was pretty impressed. But like, yeah, it's like, so it's like you're not even wearing a helmet. And then there's some civilian applications where these exoskeletons, they've already made these things. I think they're still sort of in prototype phase, but they help people who can't walk because it takes all the weight off their legs. So people who have never walked before, like you saw them like sort of like, I wouldn't say never walked before, but haven't walked in a long time, are like walking upstairs with some assistance, but mainly from these exoskeleton sort of legs that are distributing the weight sort of all around their body so that their legs aren't doing the work. There was another person who was building sort of like a machine that Sigourney Weaver controlled in the movie Aliens. That big yellow thing or whatever. Like this guy was like, lifting all these poles and like, doing all this crazy sort of stuff. And I put the links in the description below, so go ahead and check those out.
Or there's the exoskeleton in the movie Avatar, the one that the
right.
The general or whatever that guy is, colonel, whoever's got the slash on his face from that guy.
The guy with the slash guy.
The scar on the side of his head. Yeah, that thing.
It wouldn't be Scarface, but it's something similar.
Scarhead.
Scarhead. And yeah, so there's already the technologies out there for doing like sort of being it as like an armor or like strong sort of thing. But Iron Man's suit does other things as well. So he flies, right? So there are people have jetpacks right now that are sort of somewhat easy to use, I guess, for a pilot. And so that technology is kind of already there.
And then we've got the AI component of it with, he's got Jarvis, which is probably far more advanced today than, say, Watson would be with IBM, because it's actually more naturally linguistic and thinking ahead, predictive. Huh?
And science fiction?
Yeah, and science fiction. But it's written to be a lot more predictive of recognizing things. And I remember the first Iron Man when it's saying, he's trying to go as high as possible, and Jarvis is saying, sure, sir, I don't think this is, you should do that. And he's actually cautioning based upon the decisions that Tony was making.
Yeah. I can't wait for, I think I've said this before, can't wait for AI, like awesome AI. That's going to be awesome.
Ex Machina.
Yeah. And so you got the AI part, skeleton, flying, and then Chris showed me something earlier where, because he also shoots stuff out of his hands. Grant from Mythbusters and more recently Star Trek Continues, Grant Imahara, built a Iron Man style glove, and he had this high-powered laser on it, and he was able to Burn a balloon. Wow. But I mean, it was pretty cool. I mean, like when you burn stuff with lasers, it doesn't really matter what you're destroying, as long as you're destroying something. It's pretty cool. But it looked like he had like a gas-filled balloon, and he popped it with a high-powered lasers on an Iron Man arm. So that was pretty cool.
And it was a fully retractable arm, which was the other interesting thing. Like it would pop up the same way that Tony Stark's little the first one where he blows up the tank and that itty bitty missile pops up and then giant explosion. It's the same kind of thing. It kind of little mini laser that pops up and then shoots forward. It would have been cool if he was able to use the palm and like generate some sort of laser from the palm, I think.
Yeah, that's what I thought when you were telling me that he built that thing. I thought he was going to be shooting something out of his hand. I was like, wow. But yeah, it's this little thing that pops up with his arm.
Well, I think that's more for optics. I mean, you got to have a narrow field in order to direct that laser, and having something in the palm of your hand, probably easier to do a flamethrower out of your palm than I think it is to actually shoot a plasma laser or something.
Yeah. Still science fiction, unfortunately. And yeah, for those people out there, I haven't seen Ant-Man yet, the movie Ant-Man, but this isn't a spoiler. It's been in the previews. But Ant-Man is in the new Civil War movie, and it makes me want to go watch Ant-Man because I kind of felt like not prepared, I guess, for, because I didn't know his character, Paul Rudd, which he was awesome in this movie. So I have to go watch Ant-Man. And for those, this isn't a spoiler, but for those who tend to stay to watch like the clips after the movie, they kind of fake you out at the beginning. So they are at the beginning of the credits. So they do the credits for a little bit and then they show a clip. Okay. But it's not the end of the credits. Like it's sort of like the end of like the major people that were involved. Then they show a little clip. Then after all of the credits, like after you see all the little soundtrack and like that stuff start to happen, then they have
the
another
union
clip.
Logos and all the Technicolor.
Yeah, all those things. That's the end of the credits. Stay because there's another clip. So yeah,
You're
don't let
welcome.
the first one fake you out. There's I would say a majority of the people that stayed for that first clip left and didn't stay for the second one. But of course, I think everybody knew, of course that's not, it's always at the end. So there's a little fake out clip. So yeah, stay till the very end.
Yeah, they didn't leave. They just had to rush to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to go see it. I would love to be able to pilot an Iron Man exosuit or War Machine suit or something along those lines. I think it would be fun to actually just be able to wear one that had a functioning HUD. I think if you remember the Google Glass and the glass holes, like Robert Scoble that made it infamous by wearing it in the shower, having an HUD that, based upon where your eye is tracking can provide information, I think is something that I would love to be able to see on cars. I'd love to be able to see that more readily available in future technologies in our lifetime. So if that's possible, I think that would be the best outcome for it. Making things safer and having information at the not at the tip of your hand, but just by looking at something and letting it predictably come up with what information you would want to know.
Yeah, how cool would that be? Like if you're driving down the road and you're like, "Hey Jarvis, I am hungry," and then obviously you're like it drops like pins like near all the restaurants you're about to pass, and it could like tell you like if they got specials or if you never eaten at this restaurant, like what kind of food they have.
Right.
That'd be pretty cool. Meanwhile, you're driving and you're like trying not to be distracted. But if we probably have that, we probably have the self-driving cars by then. So
well, if Google has its way, we will. And if we get the maglev suspension that Goodyear came out with, I think that'll be even better because then we'll be driving safer, we'll be going where we want to go, and we can just have all the information in our fingertips while we read the newspaper on our commute. Well, having all that at your fingertips or having all that in a replicator takes us to our economics or math story for the day. We're actually going to talk a little bit about economics and the idea of limits. So if you remember back in your the days of Algebra 2 or pre-calc, even in calculus class, there's the idea of limits. And the idea of a limit is that you set essentially a parameter that you never meet the end. It's a curve. Kind of drew one here on a, woohoo, I got an X and a Y axis and I've got a curve. And you'll see that at the ends, by the top or the bottom curve, you actually never meet a point where you have a maximum X or Y, whatever, comparisons that you're measuring against one another. You actually never, there will never be a zero value. In that, it's actually a principle of two things that we use just about every day. The first is Moore's Law, which is actually a principle used in computing that says that the number of transistors will double every 2 years as we come up with new technologies. This has actually been used in quality-adjusted pricing for technologies like microchips, etc. Memory capacity, camera pixels or megapixels. We're actually compressing more information to smaller space, which gives us a better use of that space, better price of it, and better performance based upon the miniaturization of technologies. The same principle is also the same for an economic theory or marketing theory called the element of scarcity. That is, if I come out with a new product, say I'm Purina and I have a new dog, a new brand of puppy chow or something that's going to come out, they're going to set the price when it first comes out as high as possible for what the market will bear. And over time, that price will decrease. That's why you see at the very onset, TVs, big screen TVs come out. The new plasma TVs, when they came out, were $5,000–6,000 for a brand new plasma TV. And at the end of life for plasma, you could pick up a plasma TV for a few $100s. And that was, the cost over time metrics, so that you were, as time goes on, the price is going to decrease to become more affordable. And the perceived value may also diminish based upon where you are in the acquisition timeline. The element of scarcity is also something that has influenced a new book coming out, or that has just come out. I'm holding it here. It's called Trekonomics. It actually looks at what the world would look like in a utopian or scarcity-less society. That means that we've come to a point where you have everything at your fingertips. All the food that you want is now available through a replicator, so you don't necessarily need somebody to manufacture it. You can just create it. Say computer, Earl Grey hot, and up comes a cup of Earl Grey tea. The author is Professor J. Bradford DeLong, who's an economist and Star Trek fan, who, No, he's not.
No, look at the book.
Look at the book. Oh no, DeLong wrote the foreword. I'm sorry. Brad DeLong wrote the foreword. But one of the things he actually said in an interview with Tech Insider he said, look, in 1776 North America, we were a very rich country by 18th century standards because of our enormous land to labor ratio. Yet still 75% of our people were farmers engaged in growing our 25,000 or 2,500 calories a day. That was our essential nutrient intake at the time. But now in the United States, we're down to 3% of the labor force who are growing our food from 75% land mass that we had then to 3% now. And as far as our basic nutrients are concerned, we've gone from 95% of the way down to our daily to the age of the replicator, right? That's kind of what he's looking at the book, where everything is now essentially artificially made. And that element of scarcity also, is a motivator for how we, or how actually I'd say the 24th, or what century is it? The 24th century?
Yeah, it depends what series you're in. But yeah, 24th is a good approximation.
Yeah, but in the movie Star Trek: First Contact, you see Captain Picard speaking with a character named.
You were close there.
Huh?
You almost said Kirk, but
No, I said Picard.
I know you're
I just stuttered.
you're close.
but Captain Picard is actually speaking with a character named Lily, and the conversation goes, the economics of the future is somewhat different. You see, money doesn't exist in the 24th century. Lily responds with, "No money. You mean you don't get paid?" And he responds with, "The acquisition of wealth is no longer the driving force in our lives. We work to better ourselves and the rest of humanity." So, do you think? And I'm going to leave us with this at a point of discussion. Andrew, do you think we will ever get to a point where the value of something, where we actually do hit a limit, where the value of something is so high that everybody must have it free of charge? Or are we going to be in a place where we're always going to be pushing for our own self-worth, or kind of a Ferengi style, grab what you can and have, the man with the most toys wins, the last man standing with the most toys wins mentality?
Speaking of man with toys, just want to say that I got my Deep Space Nine, or not even just Deep Space Nine, but I got my Ferengi Tongo chips here. So it's one of my prized possessions that I got over here on my nerd shelf.
I'm glad I made the Ferengi reference for you then.
The Ferengis will, so in the Star Trek series, like Chris said, at least for Earth, money doesn't exist anymore, but doesn't mean that other cultures can't sort of be greedy like the Ferengi. One of the funny things is, like, they value this stuff called latinum so much that it's housed in gold or whatever, like when they package it or whatever, but to them the gold itself is worthless. But yeah, I think does the price of something get so high that it has to be free?
Or does the value of something get to be that high that it has to be free? It's not something we have to fight over or put a price on, but you should intrinsically, from a value system, have it.
I don't know. I mean, cars are valuable. Are people going to get cars for free? Now, I would love the Star Trek universe to happen, or at least the stuff for Earth, like no money and that sort of thing. I think that would be really cool. I don't know if it has anything to do with the value of something, but more of the way that we should do things, maybe. And I think everyone should sort of like play their part or whatever, but maybe you don't have to have billionaires and that sort of thing. But I feel like I'm about to go into a Bernie Sanders speech, but yeah. So I mean, I think there are definitely some things that are that should be free, because they maybe it's sort of like what you're getting at, like maybe because everyone should have them, not maybe necessarily because they're valuable, but because they're like sort of like a human right sort of thing.
Right. Well, I think that's the biggest thing is the what do we value from a, not necessarily, maybe it's a human right perspective, maybe it's just the fact that for example, food. I mean, everybody should have a replicator. Nobody should ever be hungry. That's a basic right. Nobody should ever have to be hungry. I think that we're going to have a confluence of social ideals and commodity, where the two, I mean, for a long time, we're going to be at a disconnect, especially when people live in a perception of fairness, and where fairness is just, it's not fair that person has more than me. And that's going to be enforced by an ill-conceived, commodity system, banking system, economic system that puts a price on everything regardless of the intrinsic personal social value of that product.
Yeah, I mean, the replicator, I hope that happens. because then you can get like, cake whenever you want it. Just kidding.
Going back to our weight loss story.
Yeah. Computer, chocolate cake, 7 layers. No, but that's how much would a replicator cost? Especially like when it first comes out, like that is going to be expensive. It's going to be incredible technology if it ever happens. The replicators on Star Trek, they turn energy into matter, sort of like the holodeck. And to turn energy into matter, I mean, that's an enormous amount of freaking technology. And if you're able to do that, create a replicator, that's not going to be cheap. So if the problem is the world is hungry and you have to feed the world, but you have to buy this expensive machine, it's like only the super rich are going to afford it at the beginning. So I would say if we want to go into the Star Trek universe and have all these things, we sort of need to step away from the capitalist sort of like, give me money for this thing. Mm-hmm. It just everyone, I don't know how it's going to work or if it would work, but yeah, everyone would need to sort of like give up their idea of making money, which has been ingrained in us in the last 1,000 years or so.
Well, I want to say that it was actually Bertrand Piccard, the pilot of the Solar Impulse, whose vision, just listening to him speak a couple of times, his vision is one where everybody deserves to have free energy. Like, he's that passionate about it that anybody should have renewable source of energy. Anybody should have access to the things that they want and power that they want without having to worry about cost. It should just be inherently, the power of the sun, the power of the wind, the power of running water are just so important and exist that why not take advantage of them for everybody without worry about cost. I think go ahead.
I was just going to say that human beings are the only species on the earth that pay to live here.
Yeah. Very, very, very true.
So you think about it, like that's sort of weird. Like when you think about it, like we're the only species that pay to live on the earth. And over before the Common Era or whatever, people still weren't really paying too much. If you go all the way back to the caveman days, like or even some tribes still that are on Earth. Nobody has money, right? But they live. They might not have Wi-Fi or whatever, but there are some tribes that are starting to become a little more modernized and they have access to modern technology. So yeah, don't forget that you don't have to, that we're all just animals, and this whole concept of money is weird.
Yeah, it is. Though I wouldn't mind some more of it to be able to buy a house or something.
Yeah. Well, if you lived in the Star Trek world, you wouldn't need to. So.
No, I'd be in space anyway. So my family would be, on board with me in a Galaxy class starship. So I wouldn't have to worry about leaving them behind on some station or planet somewhere.
Commander Michaels.
Yeah, it's got a nice ring to it.
Do you know what?
Just give me 3 little buttons to put on my collar.
I'm a lieutenant commander. I got the 2 little dots, the little black one. So, because Data is my favorite.
You and Data. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that about covers everything in our stories of the week. What do you? Next week we're going to be at the Science in the Intel Fair in Phoenix, Arizona. So watch out, Phoenix. We're coming. We will soon be in you.
Yeah, and next Friday, we'll be doing, or maybe next Thursday, we'll be doing our weekly live show from the either the Intel Fair, if it's going to be Thursday, or maybe Friday. We'll be there Thursday and Friday. and part of Wednesday. So yeah, we'll be doing it next week in Phoenix.
Yep. So we'll be doing it live there. Stay tuned again. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel. If you follow us on iTunes and everywhere else. So please, thank you all. If you have any other ideas and things that you want to see from the Intel Science Fair, if you know of any cool exhibits that are going to be there, let us know. Give us the heads up. If you know kids that are going to be showcasing some of the amazing stuff, we want to check out the best of the brightest and those that you are proud of. Until next week, my name is Chris.
And I am Andrew, and tune beam up. See you next week.
Take care, guys.